Whoop whoop! Welcome back to LHRPG. I made Dorian sit in the middle so he can't lean out of frame.
Are you gonna talk tonight?
Oh yeah, he's gonna have
Are you
to.
sure?
So, I don't know. They're already getting off track, y'all. Get in the fucking comments.
Get in the fucking comments.
So
Shout out to Brennan Lee Mulligan.
big shout out to Brennan, everybody at Dimension 20 for the epic ass campaign that we just finished today.
Sorry, Siobhan, my ending was better.
I don't know. Maybe you think so. So we had our finale for Neverafter.
Yep.
It was supposed to be split into two, but we said fuck it.
It wasn't even that
cranked
long
through
as I
it.
thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to carry in.
Right, I
next
thought
day.
it was gonna go in.
I knew for a fact what was gonna take the longest was that finale.
That final combat.
See, I thought you meant like
I
it was going to
thought-
carry into the next day.
I thought we were gonna go till at least like midnight or
Yeah.
later.
Oh no. The reason we started it is because I wanted to wrap at 10.
Yeah.
Which we almost hit. We wrapped at 10:30.
I think we did good. For the most part, we stayed on track.
Spoiler free, any comments on this episode before we jump into it?
That final combat, though.
Go ahead.
It was fun.
Hey. That lake, though.
Hashtag we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Alright. So, yeah, big shout out to Brendan Mulligan, everybody over at D20, where we stole this shit from. Matter of fact, I want to do something I've never done on one of these shows. And I'm going to give a shout out to the fucking people running Etsy stores, without whom we would not have had half of these awesome sets. So if you are someone cranking out shit on Etsy and selling it, fucking good on you, because we wouldn't have got half of this cool ass shit without it.
You know, speaking of, shouting out people on Etsy stores, you want to show off some of the merch that you've been getting?
I mean, they didn't come from Etsy.
Oh,
So
wait,
what
no,
makes
that came
sense?
from Temu.
However, there is a guy that runs one of the stores. His name is Mitch, and I believe the name of the store is Get Your Fantasy Now or something like that. I'm going to give him a shout out, and I told him I was going to review one of his products on this episode, so we're going to do that really quick. Before I jump into it and show you guys, I'm going to get my criticisms out of the way. The print, when it come in, was not very good. Like, there was holes in it, the print lines were very bad, they were overlapping. Half the shit I had to throw away. However, the customer service was fucking amazing, because he sent me the first one and it was even worse. And I told him about it and he immediately refunded my money and sent me this one for free. So I'm not bitching and I used it.
Right.
So, without further ado.
Ignore the gurgle sounds. That's just us making coffee. We don't get through these games without coffee.
This came from Mitch's Etsy store.
That's what you were talking about?
Yes. If you look at the feet real close, you can see kind of what I'm talking about. The inside of the roof. And there was a lot of small pieces that came with it that were so bad I couldn't use them at all. Like Baba Yaga flies around on a big pestle, and it was like in pieces. It was so fucked up. But Baba Yaga's hut, fully painted. Shout out to Mitch. Thank you, bro. It worked for what we needed it for.
Oh, yeah. It was really cool, too, because the reveal of it, he had us look away for it.
Yeah.
And then when we looked up, we were all like, oh, my goodness.
So, who would like to jump into how we started today?
Let me guess, y'all both looked at me.
You'll have to watch the episode to know. Don't make me get the timer.
I'll talk.
Okay.
I'm going to get
While you talk. Oh, you're getting it? Cool.
Yeah.
We was coming down a giant beanstalk.
Yep.
Huh?
Actually, I think we started with you at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We
because
ended
we-
the last session with you climbing down.
Yeah, we ended the last session with them shouting the alarms off and telling them to get the giants.
Mm-hmm.
There were just tiny people. The mother goose tied up, an egg, a
Well,
golden
the
egg.
golden goose.
Yeah, the
At this
golden
point,
goose,
you
yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
You're giving away the fucking twists.
We'll get there.
The golden goose was tied up, and next to her was a golden egg and a golden heart.
Yep. People in the tower.
Oh, this, before we go, because this was part of it,
Yeah.
this I'm going to give a shout out to Reaper Bones Minis and Gnomish Bazaar, where I bought this from.
3.5, brother.
Yes. Here, you can get closer to me. Show that off. This amazing fucking ballista, you have to assemble it yourself, and it doesn't come painted. But it's made by Reaper Bones Miniatures, and I bought it from gnomishbazaar.com. Shout out to them. Plug that shit. It's fairly cheap, and it's a really good mold, I think. So, fuck yeah. This was part of the battle. That's why I wanted to show it off. Since I'm giving props to people that basically print our minis for us.
We blew through that combat so fast.
I knew you would. It was designed to be super easy to make you feel badass before going into the finale.
Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
And then the finale was
Not for
supposed to
me?
be a bitch slap in the face of reality, and
At first it wasn't, and then it
it
really
was,
fucking was.
and then it really wasn't again.
Yeah.
Anyways,
We'll get there.
What?
yeah, you don't have to hit everything that happened in the combat. Just a few cool things you think you'd like to touch on before we jump into the story beats. Did you do any cool shit in the combat?
Not that I know of.
No?
It was all.
Oh yeah, you got held right
Yeah,
off the bat.
Yeah.
Wait, he did?
Yeah, they cast Hold Monster on him, and
That's
because
right.
I couldn't do
y'all were
nothing for like 3
technically
or
to
4
them
rounds.
giants, it counted.
Because I made the Petrificus Totalis joke.
Yep. So he got held right off
Yep.
the bat.
I feel like he did something before. Yeah, he took
No,
out
I did.
like 6 soldiers
Yeah, I did.
before that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah,
I
with
threw
your
the-
fucking
Yeah,
cloak.
yeah.
Yeah.
What would y'all do without me?
And then
Skip over a lot of shit apparently.
Yeah.
Strife took out almost all of them.
Yeah, single-handedly.
Yeah.
There was a lot of them too.
Yeah.
There's like damn near 20.
And she
Well,
killed Jack.
There's like 8 or 9 soldiers, like 6 or 7 villagers,
It was-
2 wizards, 2 healers.
No, 2
That's
clerics,
not
4
counting
wizards.
the soldier on the. Or
There was
4,
4 wizards,
4
2
wizards.
clerics.
That's not counting the soldier that was running the ballista, or the other villagers
Or
that
Jack.
were up in the watchtower.
Or Jack.
Or
Or
Jack.
Jack.
Jack the Giant Slayer.
I call dibs on telling what happened to Jack.
Okay. Anything else cool you think you'll touch on this before she takes over?
We found 2 pixies.
Yeah. 2 pixies. Who?
Yeah.
What were their names?
Oh, we're not there yet.
We don't have to hit every beat in the combat. We're just touching on things that are cool. Because this was a very short combat.
It really was.
So here, before we get there, would you like to talk about some cool shit that happened?
I don't really.
Either whatever you did, or
I don't
if
really
you're talking
remember
about
what
what other
Tink
people did.
in that one very much.
I don't think Tink did a whole lot during that one.
No, because that one she was last in initiative. So
Yeah,
by
and
the
almost
time
all the enemies were gone.
Yeah, by the time it got to her, there was pretty much nothing to do. So she did the perception roll.
Yeah.
As we found.
And she kept failing her spells. I know
The
when
guys were not on her side tonight.
They
That's
really
all I
weren't.
will say.
um
Tink got mad quite a few times because she
Yeah.
kept failing dice rolls. I feel for her.
I have too. Yeah.
so I know for my first turn, by that point Jack had gotten hit by
Don't hit the table.
by somebody, and I used my animal friendship, my little birdies thing,
Uh-huh.
and I summoned a crow, and because they were so tiny, my crow just scooped him up and flew way up, and he was like, "Let me go!" And the crow goes, "Okay," and he went on the ground and was dead instant.
Yeah.
I was very proud of that.
That dealt 4d6 of falling damage,
I was so proud of my crow.
and
for
he
that.
had 10 hit points.
You're good.
They're little. They had
There we go.
very little amount of hit points.
Oh yeah.
It was, like I said, this battle was designed for them to dominate.
I think a couple of them had like 1 to 2 HP.
Yeah, the mages all had 1 HP. The villagers had 3. The soldiers had 5. And Jack had 10.
Yeah. And when my crow dealt, I think it was like 13 or something, he was already down to 6.
Yeah.
So it was like instant pancake.
Oh, yeah.
And then
And the goose had to watch that happen.
Yeah.
Think about how fucked up that is now.
She said nothing.
She couldn't. If you remember, the whole twist got unveiled without her saying anything about it. He made an insight check on her face. This is how he found out.
Yeah.
We'll get there in just a second.
So, between Tink and was it Doyen or Strife that figured out which building? It was Strife.
Yeah.
So between Tink and Strife, they found the pixies. It was Tom and Thumbelina.
I was gonna call him something else.
Tom Thumb and Thumbelina.
As soon as he said he's doing
By the way, did I do good for the personalities?
Yes. Like, as soon as he was doing the NPC for Tom, he's like, my name is Tom Thumb, and this is my wife. Before he could even finish, I went, Thumbelina!
I never heard of them before.
I was
You never saw Thumbelina? Oh, that's an old-ass movie. It's animated.
Have you seen Shrek 2?
Yes.
Do you remember the red carpet scene where they're like, here's Tom Thumb and Thumbelina? And
And
they
they
got
sweep
swept
them
up into the dustpan?
That's
That's
them.
Thumbelina and Tom Thumb.
They're the size of a thumb. They're
Yeah,
2
a
inches
thumb
tall.
But
Thimble. You said thumble.
Did I say thumb?
What the fuck is a thumble?
I don't know. But no, like, I was really on it with the freaking fairy tale characters.
That's why I said you should have been here from jump. You'd have loved this
I
campaign.
know. I wish I had been. I really do. But I'm glad I came in when I did and got to experience what I did. I think after
Especially
that...
because if you had been here the whole time, you wouldn't have had the same experience. You would have been running a different character.
I think it was the Crow, Doyen, and Strife that freed the goose. Cut the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And almost immediately, because we asked her if she knew how to break the Gander's curse on Doyen's character.
Well,
And
before we jump into that, since it's already been spoiled by I don't know who. So the goose, once she is free, looks over at Jack and starts to cry. And at that point, he got that insight, and in her eyes saw the reflection of the old woman from the woods. That's how he found out that the golden goose is Mother Goose.
It's one of her variants.
Is that why she had to watch her son?
She had to watch her son die twice now. That you know
Is
of.
that what you was telling me about? The first session?
Uh-huh. When she went through the same shit you went through, what you were saying, that was her son that dissolved in front of her. And
So
then
she
now
watched
she just
two
had to watch
different
him
variants
die
of Jack
again.
die in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't even do it once.
Like I told you from jump, the implications are
darker
way
than the
darker than
actual
what
stuff.
you see happen.
Like the hot dogs. I'm not gonna let that go. I'm not gonna
Technically
let
donkey.
I'm not gonna let that go.
And he tried to eat one.
You tried to eat a child.
Oops.
A human child.
Oops.
His cold-hearted reaction reminds me so much of Fantasy High when I was like, push him in the ass.
He's Bex now.
He's Bex. Does that make me Tim?
No. If Aurora would be any of the Fantasy High of
Zarina.
the Goonies, yeah, I think
She'd be Zarina.
Yeah.
Henry would be Bex.
Henry would be Bex, yeah, for sure.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, I think, would be Tim.
Yeah.
If Tim had spells,
Pinocchio would be Tim. Who would be Zandre? Puss?
No.
No. Puss would be the ball.
Scheherazade.
Yeah. Scheherazade would be Zandre. Puss would be the ball.
Puss would be the ball.
I briefly was the ball. Anywho.
Yeah, we're getting way off topic already.
So, they asked the Gander,
The goose.
The fuck. They asked the goose if she knew how to break the gander's curse over Henry. And she said yes. And without asking any other questions, he summoned the gander. Because he's like, hey, the gander's scared of the goose.
She also had a lot of info about the stepmother and Baba Yaga
that we didn't get
never got.
So essentially,
for example, she knows the 3 things that Baba Yaga most respects in people, which if you went in knowing would have given you advantages on rolls if you utilized any of it.
Which are?
Courtesy, courage, and honesty.
I knew honesty was going to be one of them because of the situation with Rapunzel that Ursula told me about. That's why I was so adamant about not, sugarcoating.
Or lying at all.
Exactly. Because, Ursula had told me what Baba Yaga had said to Rapunzel. Did you catch that part?
No.
It was last session, right?
Yeah, Ursula had was trying to warn me about the princesses. And she told me a story where Rapunzel had gone to seek Baba Yaga's help. And Baba Yaga told her up front, if you lie to me, I will rip your tongue out. And so after their conversation was over, Baba Yaga looked at Rapunzel and she said, now let me ask you something. If I hadn't threatened you with violence and I had simply expected honesty, would I be holding your tongue right now?
And so she really snatched her tongue out?
No, she asked her if she would be holding it.
Basically asking her if she lied to her.
Rapunzel did like this and smiled and walked away. And that's why that sketch appeared in that book of her doing like that. It's because she refused to answer that question. So that was a callback to that. Mm-hmm. We'll get there. But, so, I knew from that honesty was going to be important to her when we met her.
Mm-hmm. The other 2 are courage and courtesy. Being polite and being brave enough to do what needs to be done. Like how he was willing to give up his humanity for the greater good, and Puss was willing to give up. Okay. That showed courage. You being up front the whole time showed honesty, and Pinocchio helping in the house with anything she asked without...
showed courtesy.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't even have to tell you guys.
Okay. So, any Hoosers... So, Henry calls the gander, and he shows up, and the goose tells him that she wants to make a wish, and uses said wish to take his
what did y'all think was going to happen when that first started? When the gander first showed up?
I thought a combat was going to start. I really did.
What about you?
And then, she took the curse from him and used that wish as her wish.
Yeah, I thought she was going to wish death on him or something. He was
which caused him to jump on her and start devouring her. And the minute I realized he was eating her alive, I was like, okay, no, this ain't a combat. This is just a run or die situation.
Yes.
And what happened if we would stay? We would have
died.
Yeah. Like that
campaign would have been over.
I had to tell Tink that 5 times.
Yeah.
But like she even looked dead at Henry and was like, "Run!"
She goes, "Run, dear boy."
And
she looked deathly afraid.
And we're trying to run to the damn thing. And Tink's over here. Well, what if we do this? Alphonse was already gone.
What happened with Alphonse before that though? We missed.
So
Alphonse was there.
The combat. One of the things that Strife did that took out so many of them.
Because we haven't even. Because the last they heard of Alphonse, he was out in the forest in Marianne.
Well, he when we saw them, we saw a mule that was loaded down with.
The pole arm strapped on each side of it.
Yeah. And Puss recognized him, and as soon as he recognized Puss, Alphonse goes, oh, shit.
Essentially, they had found him, taken him, and forced him into this war horse.
And as soon as he saw Puss and the rest of us, he was like, oh, no. So
that means death is coming.
During the combat, the move that Strife did that took out so many of them, it was some kind of like lightning storm that he caused.
Something like that.
And one of the bolts of lightning struck and killed Alphonse, and Tink started freaking out, so I was like, okay, I've got Revivify, don't worry. So I used Revivify and brought him back, and when he came back as his human prince self.
How did he become a prince?
He was always a prince. He was cursed to be a mule. Kind of like you're cursed to become a frog.
From... Fuck, where's the map?
Check the paperwork.
Lullaby Lands.
But, you know, he had been cursed to be a mule. And when he got struck by lightning, that lightning is what broke the curse, even though it killed him. Like, if it hadn't killed him, it still would have broke the curse, right?
Yeah, he just would have been a dead... If it hadn't killed him, it would have been...
But if I hadn't have brought him back, he would have been a dead human.
Yeah.
But if it hadn't killed him, he would have just come back.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, you know, Stripe accidentally kills him, and I did Revivify. He comes back as a prince. And
you want to hear how that played out in Brennan's group?
Yeah.
This is why I was really let down that nobody got a firework, because we missed a great fucking joke. Because this is the only time I've ever seen Brennan break trying to be in character. He could not hold a straight face.
He doesn't even break on breaking news.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So, Pinocchio had Jiminy Cricket fire a bottle rocket at Alphonse. And it hit him. It didn't kill him. And he ended up, you know, that's what broke his curse.
How is... okay, what are the rules of this curse?
There aren't any, really. It was made up on the spot as a gag. But to watch Brennan go, you broke my curse. A cricket shot a rocket at me.
You my freaking dad.
It was great. But in our game, it was lightning.
Yeah.
Because I still wanted to have some version of that joke.
I got so butthurt. Hold on. I gotta tell them that. So this dude comes back to life. And instead of going, thank you for saving me, he goes, thank you for killing me with lightning to Strife's character. And I'm like,
he thanked Pinocchio. This is what he did. He pointed at Pinocchio and said, thank you. Pointed at Aurora. Thank you. Pointed at Puss. Fuck you.
Yeah, but that was after. Because at first he just started thanking Pinocchio. And I was like, I'm the one that brought you back.
Yeah, see, you selfish bitch, because the praise wasn't on you for a minute.
and then
y'all see what I deal with?
Hey.
The pure selfishness on display. She has to be the center of the story because she's a princess.
To me that he was thankful for getting killed, but not for being brought back.
He wasn't thankful for being killed. He was thankful for him ending the curse.
I know that. I'm saying at the time.
Get the fuck over it.
Eddie Hoosers. So, as soon as the fucking gander starts leaping at the goose, Alphonse took the fuck off.
Oh, yeah.
Which...
Alphonse started running the minute the gander showed up. He was halfway up the beanstalk by the time y'all started going.
Tink, I love you. And I tell you these things in person. I think it took about 3 to 4 different parts of the session of us continuously trying to get through to her.
The same piece of information.
That you cannot make him not a coward at all.
She tried so hard. That's one of the things she got mad about, is because I wouldn't completely 180 his
character.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not who he is.
He had to explain to her that is his one defining characteristic. That's okay, here's how it is. Frog, puppet, cat, princess, coward.
All I'm saying is, he was sitting there strapped with 2 weapons and did not attack anyone. If he really was more worried about getting free than being a coward, he would have just speared a couple of the little people or stomped them or something.
Right, he could have trampled them. He was an R-sized mule.
But he didn't, because he's a fucking coward.
Right, he just wanted it to be over so he could run away. Because there was no safe way for him to run away.
Mm-hmm. And you can't climb a beanstalk as a mule.
Yeah, so we start going towards the beanstalk and she's sitting here. Well, what if we did that? What if I did this? We're like, You will die. This thing is eating the only thing capable of killing it.
Not only was she trying to continuously get him to not be a coward, she was trying to talk everyone into fighting the gander.
But it had been established that the only being capable of killing the gander was the goose. And the gander was actively eating the goose alive.
And there's another character trait about the goose that would make that not happen anyway. She's a pacifist.
Which we didn't know that until now.
What's a pacifist?
Someone that refuses. She's almost like Alphonse, just not afraid. She just refuses to fight.
But the thing does not hesitate.
She will die before attacking people.
The thing did not hesitate.
She's given her life for you twice.
Right. It did not hesitate to start devouring a being it knew was more powerful than it. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
There is no mercy with this thing. There is no hesitation. There is no...
It taunted him for months leading up to this.
Yeah. And she's steady trying to... We're like, dude, we're not helping you fight. Fucking run. And then she goes, well, what about... Bitch, he's gone! He was the first one up! Go!
Like, what makes you think the most cowardly guy in the world is going to fight one of the most powerful beings in the world?
Right. Like, we had to explain to her, I don't know how many times, the only way we're going to defeat this thing is getting Pinocchio the fucking ink. And finally, when she agreed to go up, it was in a huff because she wanted to be able to fight it.
You want to know how much you couldn't have actually fought the gander? I had no stat block for him. His hit points are essentially infinite. I had no stat block for the goose.
I honestly, and I can't fault her very much because I think the only reason she was so adamant about it was because she and I had agreed to protect the goose. Before he called the gander, I had made the statement.
I knew what was going to happen with the whole wish. I knew that was going to happen before we started the campaign.
We didn't, though.
I know.
And so when he brought up bringing the gander, my character had made the comment, I will be okay with it if we can protect the goose. And Puss was right there ready to help. And I think that's the whole reason she was so adamant about fighting it.
I will say, I did expect you guys to go up to the clouds and rest and talk with the goose and get the info before the gander showed up.
Yeah, somebody liked to jump the gun on that one.
And first thing out the gate, he goes, I want to call the gander. The goose is right here. I want to call the gander.
We were like, can we discuss this? He's like, he's afraid of the goose. I'm calling the gander.
He's not afraid of the goose. He just doesn't like her. Yeah, at all.
He hates her. He wasn't cringing because he was afraid of her. He was cringing because he hated her so much. And that became very clear in that moment.
Because if you notice when he showed up, he didn't look scared. He was laughing.
Yeah, that caught me off guard at first because I thought the same thing he did. And then after I saw that, I was like, okay, he ain't scared of this bitch. We gotta go. She's telling us to run. Let's go.
Because, like I said, y'all didn't know that she wouldn't attack. He did.
Right. So if we'd known that going in, maybe someone wouldn't have jumped.
I was trying to hint at it by the way the whole time she's tied up, was very calm and happy talking to you.
I just assumed it was because she was some strong entity. She knew we were going to rescue her type thing. I assumed it was like a Baba Yaga situation. Like she knew she was going to be okay.
No, she can't see all the stories like Baba Yaga does. Hence why she was asking questions.
I didn't know that. Especially when you explained to him about how he saw her other self in her. Mm-hmm. I thought she was having a moment like Baba Yaga and like Ursula where she was living all this different stuff. Yeah. So that's where my mind went to.
No, they can do that because they're true witches.
Right. Which... You know,
they were born as hags.
I overthink everything. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it does not. That was a situation where it did not. So we climbed the beanstalk, we got in the carriage, and we took the fuck off. It was us, Alphonse.
By the way, the whole time they're climbing this beanstalk, all they can hear is the gander munching down and the goose screaming in pain.
Oh, we almost got stuck there.
Yeah!
Because during the combat, one of the wizards threw a fucking fireball at us, and it hit the beanstalk, and I had to do control water real quick to save it. Can we just discuss how he goes, so what do you say? Didn't I get like a nat 20 or some shit?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, so what do you say as you're doing that? You said, but you showed, but
Yeah.
what do you say? And I'm like, no.
All right, so get done with that.
We took a long rest in the carriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you headed
We
toward
leveled
back
up,
to Snowhold.
and we went to Snowhold.
You heard the howl. That's how you knew which
And we
direction
beeline
to
to Baba Yaga.
go. Mm-hmm.
I think I was the one that approached the house.
Yeah, you were like practicing your speech while walking to the door.
Yeah, I was like, hey, Princess Aurora, we need your help.
And
Hey,
she
Princess
caught
Aurora,
you
we
before
need your
you
help.
even made it to the door.
I about decked Tink at the table.
She scared you?
Yes.
Dude.
Were you like so into the story that you thought
Yeah, like
that
I was trying to do that, and you were given the words, and right as you were talking, she took her hand like this on my neck, and I spun around like this. I was like, bitch, you're about to get dead.
It's a good thing that it wasn't Puss that tried. Because she was going to show up behind whoever was the one trying to do that persuasion check. And let's just say she's a witch, and she thinks cats are very cute. And she has long fucking claws, and she would love to tickle his stomach. She tickled Puss's stomach as Zach and dealt 7 points of damage.
Holy shit.
Just from...
I'm just excited I got to use both of my awesome abilities.
I'm happy I finally got to play Baba Yaga.
Yeah. She was
What'd you
creepy,
think
but so
about her?
cool. I loved her.
Yeah.
Like, at
She
first,
doesn't
she
move
freaked
too
the hell
much.
out of me. I'm not gonna lie. At first, she freaked the hell
Yeah,
out
for
of me.
like the first half hour, you were like, yeah, okay, I'll do whatever you want, just don't eat me.
No, like,
No.
especially after Jake did that fucking neck shit, I was like this.
We're going to have to teach him who to talk shit to and who to not talk shit to. Because you almost died just from your mouth.
Yeah, that's what did
I'm
you
going to tell you
catch?
that now. Did you know that?
Yes.
You almost died twice just from talking.
Did you catch what Aurora did? He was, every time he'd start talking shit and she'd get that murder glare,
Uh-huh.
I'd look at him and go, for 5 minutes? Shut up. And he'd go,
Do you want to die? Then shut the fuck up and eat your piss.
I think it's a little different when another member of royalty looks at you and goes, shut the fuck up. Because we were the only royalty in the group. Because I was princess and he was a prince.
Uh-huh.
So, like, it's different. There's a little puppet kid and a little kitty cat. And then there's a fucking royalty member. Shut the fuck up and eat the piss.
And you're in front of a 3,000-year-old witch that has access to every spell in that book.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay, so after that, she asked what we wanted.
Oh, we missed a very important key thing that was happening throughout this entire session. It happened a couple times in earlier
The
sessions,
glitches.
but it was constant this session.
The glitches that we had mentioned in previous episodes were like almost constantly happening, especially to certain characters, like the stepmother
And locations.
Like it's seriously like a VHS tape that's going bad,
Mm-hmm.
or like you've watched found footage
It's
where
like jumping and static
Yeah.
and yeah.
What's a VHS tape?
Do this. Oh, you moved.
I don't know what that is.
God, how
It's-
old are we?
It's how we used to watch movies growing up. It's a
I got
big
this
black
thing.
rectangle.
I get this thing called a cellular device or a big
Those
TV.
didn't exist when I was a kid.
We had big black rectangles with actual tape in them.
And when you got done watching it, you had to rewind it or you couldn't watch it again.
And if you rented a video,
You had to rewind it before you took it back.
yeah, they even had a phrase
That
for
whole
it called "Be kind and rewind."
They had whole stores just of videotapes, so you could rent movies.
Yeah, ain't that what
Blockbuster.
Yes, that's what Blockbuster was. Oh my god.
Blockbuster was one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
They had the biggest selection. Anyway.
And they even had snack areas, so you
So
could get
any of our
candy
viewers
and popcorn and
that remember videotapes, those are the glitches, like when a tape starts jumping.
How old are we?
I'm in my 30s.
I'm 24. And he just made me feel like I was fucking 60.
I will say, when you were born, DVDs were a thing.
Yes, but I grew up with y'all with VHS tapes 90% of the time.
Yeah. Because we were poor. We didn't have money for all that shit.
For the longest time with our dad, I had this little TV.
With the
built-in VHS, the built-in
How do you rewind
VCR.
those? You just grab the tape and just pull it out?
There's a button that says rewind. So the tape has these two little circles in it, right? And when you put it in the VCR, these two little heads hook into those circles, and they spin it to move the tape to play the movie. When you're done, you hit the stop button, you hit rewind, and it spins those the opposite direction.
Because the tape has still frames of every single frame of the film.
If you pull that tape out of that movie's fucked.
Like, a lot of times the tape would get stuck, and when you go to take it out, it would grip it.
And then that tape's done. You have to throw it out and buy a new one.
And, like, it was, what was really frustrating is when someone put the wrong tape in the wrong case.
Come on.
Okay, so essentially it was like, like a VHS tape glitching.
So you get to Baba Yaga's hut.
She asked what we wanted, and I told her we wanted knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said to come in. She was hungry.
Yeah, she refuses to negotiate on an empty stomach.
So she said she was going to make dinner while we did chores to prove what. Her exact wording was, "You will do chores while you think about what you're willing to offer." And then she separated us with chores. I had
and the offerings came during the chores.
Yeah. I had to go pick vegetables from a garden.
Mm-hmm.
He had to go to a pond and get fish.
Which he did not do.
He did not. Puss had to go to the chicken coop and get chickens. And then Pinocchio had to set the table.
Mm-hmm.
You were the first one to go through your...
You were the years first?
Yeah.
What happened?
I'm gonna be out of frame
when you
for a
got
second
to the
because I
pond.
sit back.
So, got to the pond to start shrinking down into a little frog. And basically in the pond there was like a glare of like a version.
Like a reflection.
Yeah.
Of...
The blue fairy?
No.
The fairy godmother?
The one that cursed you to begin with?
The one that had died at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, it looked like she was standing behind him.
Yeah. But when he looked, she wasn't there. So
Right.
that's how he knew she was still dead.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened with that?
She was just talking
shit.
Mad.
Yeah.
I talked shit so well that Doyen, not Henry, Doyen looked at me like, ow.
I almost turned into Tink and started crying during mine. Did you notice that?
No.
When I did like that, that's why.
Yeah, it almost got to me.
Do you remember any of the shit she was saying?
Basically saying Elodie was my only friend and my real friends ain't there for me and
he fucked it up.
Yeah.
All kind of shit. It was pretty brutal.
Taunting him about losing Elodie, taunting him about how none of us really care about him, a bunch of bullshit.
Basically got him, and the more she insulted him, the smaller he got. So, like, how he felt about himself was connected to his size.
Yeah. You know what that made me think of? There's an episode of Family Guy where Peter goes to chiropractor or goes to the doctor and they stretch his back to really tall.
He gets tall.
And he gets tired of being tall.
Oh yeah, so Lois
is like, I can help you, but you're not gonna like. And she starts berating him, and every time she says something, he shrinks. He shrinks.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, he's sitting on the couch like the size of Deadpool whenever he has the baby legs.
And so she asks, what will I choose to give up?
Who did?
Me.
No, who asked?
you?
Oh, Baba Yaga.
Mm.
And I gave up becoming a human again. Or was it a
You
frog?
gave up all your humanity
Yeah.
and you just turned into just a straight frog.
A giant
But
frog.
a big one.
Yeah, and then
I wanted you to still have some ability
Yeah.
to attack.
Right.
Which is why I made it a giant frog.
And then I ate the bird.
The one that was circling.
Yep.
Yeah, because the bird was circling small frog version of him,
Yeah.
right?
And that's the first thing she taunted him with is how he's supposed to be a big Billy badass and here he is hiding from a bird.
Wasn't that because that was the same kind of bird that he had seen eating his frog friends in the
Mhm.
past? Wasn't that why it was?
Triggering?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. Him and then he's like, I'm not grabbing fish, fuck her.
Yeah.
Do you want to do Tinks and then I'll do mine?
Sure. So Puss starts walking toward the chicken coop.
tried. She almost did.
Yeah.
Oh, trying to remember. She ended up crossing back into that spirit forest and saw Fox and Rabbit both dead.
Mutilated.
Dead. Turns out they were trying to play a trick on her, so they weren't actually dead. But then she heard the giants coming, and these are giants that are related to the ogre I keep doing that Puss had killed to make Tomas king. And so he basically was frozen in fright and didn't do anything. And the giant found him and started to charge, which is when Baba Yaga stepped in and asked what he was willing to offer. And he gave up his sentience and became a full fucking house cat.
Yeah, he did that this close to getting beaten by the fucking giant
Getting
because
smashed.
Tinks just sat there for a hot minute.
I'm like, he's coming. Time is moving. I'm not...
Like, this isn't
She
a
did that a
pause and
lot
think
this
moment.
session. She would just, like, a lot of her turns were 15 minutes or longer.
I think she was getting flustered with the amount of stuff that was going on this
That's
session.
the whole point of something like this.
Yeah.
Is there's a lot of shit and you have to act quickly.
Yeah.
I had to pull out the timer on her ass a couple of times.
It's like, for those of you who who watch the show but, like, don't play tabletops but play video games, it's like one
Combat
of those...
takes a while.
It's like one of those scenes in a game where you have to hit a specific
The
button.
quick time events.
Yes. It's like
Yeah.
those moments. This session was very much quick time events. Like,
Oh, yeah.
back to back to back. For
Because
those
she
who
thought
watch
I
us
was
but
just
don't
going to sit
tabletop.
there and let her decide what she was doing. And every, 30 seconds that went by without her saying anything, I was like, he's getting closer. He's right up on you.
But, we had to do the quick time style because there was so much to squeeze into the final showdown.
But I think it turned out pretty good.
I did.
After
and all
that,
Puss could do was meow.
Yeah. So, jump over to you.
So I got...
Back in frame while I get coffee.
I got to the garden, and...
What it looked like.
Fuck you. I stepped into the garden.
This
and
is where I almost broke Jade.
He did. I don't think I even got that close to breaking during the Nightmare Forest.
Yeah.
And that one was bad.
And this was with a character you had no connection to.
Yeah. So the garden was not
Honestly,
garden.
when you were doing all that, I thought you were just being in character because of how much Aurora cared about her true love.
I covered my mouth because I was starting to cry. And I felt panicked.
I am so proud
Hit
of
pause.
this scene. Hit pause.
Okay.
Due to the power of editing, we continue.
What was it Tank called it? Editing without editing.
Yes.
So
Shout out to Tank. We miss you, bro.
for reals.
Who?
Your brother.
Is he coming back for a junior year?
No. I don't think he's going to be gaming anymore at all. I think when he was in that campaign, it's because he needed something to do on the weekends.
And now he's
And now that he's
working
working, he
and
don't
he's
need
got
it
his own
anymore.
life going on.
Which, no shade, if it's not that big on your priority list, that's 100% fine.
Right.
But I will say, if he ever does want to come back, he's more than welcome because I loved having him.
Oh, yeah. Especially the way he did things with the ball.
Oh, yes. Anyway, continue.
So it was not a garden. It was not a garden.
It was a garden.
No, it was a maze of briars.
It's technically still a garden.
Shut up.
You just saw a maze of briars.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
see?
Aurora still doesn't know that, mind you.
All right, Rose, come on.
So
We're burning moonlight.
I'm
here.
trying. Y'all keep interrupting. So I went into it, and I was walking through this briar maze, and I heard noises.
Okay, I thought he was puking.
No, those are the briars growing out of his mouth.
So I followed I followed the sound and found this prince that I had seen in the flashes of my memories from other stories when I was with Cinderella. But he was. How do you think I felt? He was literally like pierced and impaled into the briar, like they were threaded through, kind of like they were with me when I woke up.
Right, and then he had.
And he was
his
impaled
own
on his own sword.
Yep.
And
That you would guess is from falling into the briars and
Yeah.
dropping the sword.
and he asked if I was Princess Aurora, and I was like, yeah. And he said that he was Prince Jonathan, and he was trying to find me in my tower.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I heard voices behind me, and I turned around to see the 3 fairies that had blessed me as baby.
Mm-hmm.
I keep wanting to call them Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather.
You can if you want. They don't have names.
That's what I kept calling them because that's what I know them as. But no, they're just red fairy, blue fairy, and yellow, or red fairy, green fairy, and yellow fairy.
Yes.
But I called them Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, and they, what was it?
Essentially,
They were blaming me.
No. The wicked fairy was blaming you, which you didn't know she was there originally.
Right.
They were essentially telling you, hey, this is your prince. We can save him. You just need to get us Pinocchio's book.
Yeah. And
which is the same thing the green fairy told him in his near-death experience.
And
I told them, that's not fair because to Aurora, like, why are you punishing him?
Mm-hmm.
Because you want me to get you something that belongs to someone else, So that's not fair. And that's when the black fairy, the wicked fairy, Maleficent basically, walked up behind them and was telling me that he was suffering because of me. And this was my fault.
He's dying because you're letting him die by not embracing your destiny.
And that fucking broke Aurora because she did not know this was a hallucination.
Yeah.
She thought they were actively torturing and killing him in front of her. And that they were working with the fairy who had cursed her to begin with.
By the way, when you had said anything about that, they all kind of like looked at each other. Like conspiratorially.
Oh, at the end?
Mm-hmm. Right there when you said that out loud in that scene, yeah, they were kind of like giving each other a knowing look.
It was like, as far as she knew.
Like, they've been on the same page with the Wicked Fairy this entire time. Because they have to play out what happens in the story. And in the story, the Wicked Fairy curses you.
So they let her curse me.
To make the story happen.
And then the Gander's corruption.
Because if the story doesn't happen, the authors get involved.
Yeah.
And you saw how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I literally at the table was about in tears. And Aurora in game was in tears. And she turned back to the prince trying to find some way to help him. And that's when Baba Yaga's voice came in asking what I was willing to offer to
end your story
the way I want it.
Yeah.
And I gave up all memories of my parents. And like my goal was to save him. And then suddenly I was in a regular garden. and I couldn't remember anything
From before you woke up.
Yeah. And like from my death experience, those flashes of my other story lives, anything involving my parents or my childhood, their faces was blurred. So like I could see him and I could see everything else. And I could see that there were people there, but they were like mannequins. There was no face. It was like looking at
Slender Man.
I was just gonna say, it was like looking at fucking Slender Man. And I was like, but I got the veggies and went back to the house. Now you do Strifes.
His actually, because of how he did it, didn't go as long as it was supposed to. So he's setting the table, and that fucking door opens back up, the one that's been plaguing him all season, with the stepmother.
Yeah.
And her silhouette.
Yeah, didn't she say something to him?
Yeah, she's basically talking about how she wanted him to come back to her, and was it, how much can I hurt your father before you start listening?
Yeah,
Shit
or
like
didn't she
that.
say how badly must I hurt him?
Yeah, before you heed my commands.
Yeah, because she didn't like that he did what he did with her.
So he basically tells her off.
I'm sorry. She's all menacing. How badly must I hurt your father before you listen? And he goes, fuck off! I burst out laughing.
So as the door's shutting, a little slip of burnt parchment slips through with one word written on it.
Which nobody but him knows until much later.
And I'm not gonna say until we get there.
Yeah, like he was sitting there holding it like the paper handout that Nitro gave us was like this big.
Yeah.
Well, gave Strife, and he was holding it like this, and I was like, "Is that the handout?" And he's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Is that from your hallucination thing?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Can I look at it?" And he goes, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay." I wasn't used to us not sharing handouts.
So after that happened, Baba Yaga called him into the kitchen, got a little more backstory from him, and then asked him what he was willing to offer for her help.
Is that why when we sat down, we were about to sit down to dinner, he asked her what power names held? Because he had already gotten the name? That makes so much more sense now. Because I was waiting for him to ask for it, and he didn't.
Basically, he gave up his chance to become a real boy again.
He chose to be a puppet forever.
So they sat down. They had soup made with a little bit of piss. You get the out of context reference now? You were waiting for it to pop
I was.
up.
Okay, so I want to clarify that for them because...
Oh, we missed something important before your chores started.
Mm-hmm.
There was a rug in the living room.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to clarify the out of context thing.
Okay.
It has become a tradition now, especially like whenever we do these games based on D20 or, you know, because Nitro watches those videos like religiously in order to make sure he knows everything that he needs to know to run us through it. It's become a tradition now that at least the day before, if not the week before game day, he'll be on the phone with me and he will give me an out of context quote from the game.
From the next session.
And so we'll be sitting there and he'll get to that part and at least one of us will go, that's what that meant! And
last week's was a little bit of piss.
Yep. Last session's was, I'm a fucking frog! I don't eat hot dogs! Or, I'm a fucking puppet, I don't eat hot dogs! Yeah.
So, the out of context line was a little bit of piss. And what that is a reference to is Baba Yaga for dinner made a soup, and the broth was piss.
Now, referring to what Nitro brought up, we did miss him when we first entered the house, we were looking around. There was a
huge
black wolfskin rug. And we all immediately, is that the big bad wolf? And Baba Yaga goes, "You wanted a favor. I don't do charity. I wanted a new rug." And so I actually brought that up every time he would start talking shit. I'd look at him and be like, "You are pissing off someone who killed the literal entity of death." And he'd go, "Oh yeah."
That's it. Every time he starts to be like, look at the rug.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Look in your soup.
We had to roll Constitution saves for that.
What was the meat in the soup?
Wolf. And we ate every bite.
Eventually, I told him, I was like, keep it up. You're gonna have frog soup tomorrow.
You would have loved them frog legs, though.
I love frog legs. And those are big, man. I could have ate on them for a couple of days.
You don't like frog legs?
Ew, no.
Have you tried them?
Yeah, when I was
Especially that
8.
fried?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Deep fried.
off topic.
Yeah.
Anywho.
We're gonna cut off Dwayne's legs later and make frog legs.
So we
He's about
ended
the size
up.
of that frog right now.
We ended up. We did the Constitution saves. Dwayne puked.
Dwayne did puke.
Me and Tink gagged,
Yeah.
and Strife was the only one who made no face.
Yeah, Pinocchio's, he's a puppet. He was good.
Didn't he get advantage because of,
No.
or did he just pass it good?
Yeah, he rolled a natural 17
Well,
before bonuses.
so turns out that eating the soup gave us advantage.
Some buffs.
And as
Like, it was gross, but it was worth it.
Yeah, I was trying
as
to
he
get her
was
to
describing,
do
you know,
something.
what we would get, one of it was like 2d6 hit die.
2d6 if you only stomach the bite. If you ate the whole bowl, it was 2d12.
Yep. Well, you had said the 2d6, and Dorian was the one to go, "Can I get more if I eat the whole bowl?"
No, I think it was because Strife started off by saying he was eating the whole bowl. And so I told him 2d12, and he goes, well, can I get more if I eat it all? And I was like, yeah.
So me and Tink followed suit. We all ate every last drop of the wolf and piss soup, but it came in handy. It gave us
saved your ass in more than ways than one.
It gave us advantage on Constitution saves. It gave us the temporary hit points.
Mhm.
I really did not take damage in the last battle.
At all?
I took it. I took.
You took a lot.
Yeah, I took a good amount.
Because I was over there trying not to do
It
anything.
took the blue fairy healing me and somebody else saving me. So
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So anywho, after dinner, Baba Yaga immediately took us to the lines between. Strife did his legend lore on Baba Yaga, and the spell he got for that was really fucking cool. He got a spell to summon Baba Yaga, to where he can call her in to do a spell for us. And either he can tell her something and persuade her, or he can just let her choose. And but it's sort of like if you play South Park Stick of Truth, when you get the special like Jesus and all them, they only come in, do something really fucking cool, and then dip out.
Yep.
That's Baba Yaga. I did not expect him to use that as quickly as he did.
I didn't either.
But it helped.
It did.
And then, so she took us to the lines between, and we met up with Tomas, who was alive. And we met up with Scheherazade.
And Sinbad.
Did I say it right?
You did.
Fucking A.
I'm so proud to you.
I said it right, I think, 3 times now.
I think that was the third time.
Yeah. Like, I can't say that name for shit. It's as bad as Titius Maximus.
Oh my god. Titius Maximus.
Oh, shit. And Sinbad. And they came with us, and Scheherazade looks at Pinocchio and is like, this is for Aesop. And they walked in together to go get the ink. Well, we got about to the second platform, I think it was.
Yep.
And the blue,
all 5 of them showed up.
I wanted to list them off. The blue, green, red, yellow, and wicked fairies all showed up.
Yes.
Now, because the blue fairy is not only Pinocchio's patron, but sees him as her son, he was able to convince her to join him and help us.
Yep.
But what she did really caught us off guard, because there was this walkway platform stuff that we had to walk on of these books, and the rest of the floor was pages of books, but like you immediately got the sense of, okay, that's not right. Something's wrong with that.
You found out.
Yeah. And so when he convinced her, he panicked at first because she dived straight into him. And he was like, no. I was like, wait, that's your patron. And he's like, yeah. I was like, Nacho, wouldn't he feel if something happened to her because he would lose his magic? And he goes, yeah, exactly. And Strife's like, so I know she's okay. And he's like, yeah. And Strife's like, oh, okay. And Nacho's like, you know not to go near it. But you also know that she's okay. So we didn't see her for a hot minute. And then
round.
Combat started between us and the fairies, the four fairies.
This is, I think, the longest combat we've ever done. This was longer than the Nightmare Force.
At first, it looked like it was going to be over quick, and you
underestimated me, didn't you?
I was going to say, I pissed you off.
You did. Because those 5 were supposed to keep you busy for the whole first round.
Puss went first, but at this point, Puss was still a little house cat, so I couldn't do
really
anything.
do shit.
Blue Fairy was next, and that's
I made them go a full, I think, 3 rounds as their unhuman counterparts, just to give them a taste for it.
And then
they didn't like it.
Yeah, after the Blue Fairy dipped, it was my turn. And you told me, you recommended that spell. That's all I'm saying.
Which one?
Something of...
So you saying I recommend it, you don't even remember the fucking spell.
It started with a C.
Conjure Volley?
Yes! It's Conjure Volley. And so I cast Conjure Volley. The way it was set up, the green and yellow fairies were over here. Here's this doorway that we came through originally. And over here was the wicked and the red fairies. Is that the one you
hit that fucking 20 on?
And it was the very first thing I did. And I cast Conjure Volley on the black and red fairies. And I got a nat 20 and decent damage. And they were... No, it was because I got a nat 20 on the magical attack. And because of the house rule for this campaign, they had to match it.
Yeah.
And
for the spells, they had to. For regular attacks, it was just a regular save.
But they failed, and they both crit died.
He almost forgot, though.
Yeah, Doyen reminded him. And so he goes, hand him the fuck here. Like, he was fuming for a hot minute. Okay. Oh, he looked like Kevin Hart. Alright, okay.
Yeah, the beginning of this combat was not very fun for me. It got more fun as time went on.
What happened next?
I'm just gonna note off, like, really notable things. Just to save time, we're only gonna talk about shit that's important. So, toward at the end of the first round, the ink started bubbling and growing. Jumped into the second round.
I think Pinocchio's priority was getting to the ink. And we were trying to fend off the enemies so he could.
Yeah. Y'all were just like slaughtering motherfuckers. The Blue Fairy showed back up the second round carrying a large basket woven out of golden rope. Like a big wicker basket type
No,
thing.
that was the third round. Second round was Baba Yaga. The hand.
Oh shit, so it took her 2 rounds to do that?
The second round, he summoned Baba Yaga. And because he used first round to just dash. And the second round, he summoned Baba Yaga and gave her discretion. And she summoned the hand.
Bigsby's hand. Bigsby's earthen grasp.
And it restrained the other 2 fairies. And before she left, she looked at Puss, who had been hurt by the fairies and was laying... Because I was fixing to heal it.
Yeah.
But Baba Yaga beat me to it, was like, here you go, and brought him back to his sentient form. And then looked at Henry and goes, eat one first. And throws something at him. And as soon as his turn hit, he ate one of the fairies, and suddenly he was back to his frogman form.
Mm-hmm.
And they both had all their items back. And then on the third
At
round,
the end of the second round is when the ink got so big it started enveloping the inkwell.
yup,
And then the platform started to shake, and one of the fairies was like pleading with the ink to not do what it was about to do.
which we didn't understand at first.
Yeah. All they know is she's like, please, we're trying, we're doing what we can.
We're trying to stop them, I think is what she said. We're
Yeah.
trying to stop them.
We're trying to do what you asked.
Yeah. Or we're trying to make it right.
Yeah, something like that.
But it was the yellow fairy because he ate the green one.
Yeah.
And then
So the third round,
the blue fairy
the
came
blue
back.
fairy showed up with this big ass basket, and what was in the basket?
Geppetto. It was Geppetto. Apparently the blue
badly
fairy
wounded.
knew where the stepmother had been keeping and torturing him, but you know
Couldn't get
he
in.
couldn't get. That's what happened the second round too. The stepmother showed up
Yeah.
and she called out Pinocchio's name, and he looked at her and goes, Minerva, and she cringed, and immediately that power,
Drained.
and from then on every attack against her was made with advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So the blue fairy was able to get through her magic at that point because she was weaker,
Yeah.
Yeah, all
and
the attacks on him were
saved
smart.
Geppetto.
That's why it took 2 rounds, because that whole first round was her trying to get through that
Yep.
defense.
And then so when the blue fairy brought Geppetto, he's like, you had him this whole time? And she's like, no, I knew where he was, but I couldn't get through her magic. When you said her name, I could. And
Well, she didn't know he said it. She said, I don't know what happened, but suddenly her magic started waning, and I was able to penetrate it.
and I was right after him.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at, or no, I was right after her, because this was her turn.
Yeah.
And I was gonna attack the yellow fairy. And he looked at me and he's like, Aurora, please heal him. So,
Now, he was at 1 hit point.
yeah. And I was like, me and him are the only two that could heal, and I was the next turn. So he asked me to heal him, and I was like, alright. And I brought him back to what, full HP?
Yep. 70 is what you gave him, right?
Yep.
Yeah, his max is 45.
So like, he was good as new.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, can I go back to the basket?
Immediately hugged his little boy.
Yeah. And then hid in the basket. And then,
apologized for the misunderstanding in the previous episode.
Yeah. Oh, and looked at the stepmother, and he's like, what is that? And
He said, that's your wife.
My wife was human, was being the operative word there.
I think that was word for word.
Yeah, because I said that line.
That was verbatim.
I was just like, next is like, she didn't use any notes.
I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I called on her to do it.
Oh shit. So after that, at the end of that round was when the first author hand avatar showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had made the statement.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah. I had made the statement, we need to keep that thing away from Pinocchio so he can get to the...
This woman took a lot of damage to keep it away from him.
Like, the blue fairy on her next turn, knowing it would take too long for him to run over there, scooped him up and dropped him over at the fucking cauldron of ink so he could start taking it, while I distracted the hand to keep it away from him. Because on my next turn, my turn was immediately after her. So the first thing I did was my Briar attack. I love how I did the first one, though. Because he's like, all right, so what do you say? And I was like, I'm going full monster squad. Like, hey, asshole! And I was like, you looked, and I shot my fucking briars at it. I was so proud.
Any cool shit you did you want to talk about? Besides eating a fairy.
I don't think I very did very much cool.
Yeah, you did. Do you remember what you did when the gander showed up?
Oh yeah.
It's like after a couple more hands show, a few
So,
rounds later.
Let me hit the one cool thing I want to hit real quick. That happens right before that, and then we'll let him take over. So at
It's
one
not,
point,
it's not what the hand does.
it is.
Oh God damn.
At one point, so she's got these briars in the hand, right? And so it pulls her back to where she's dangling over these pages. This is how she found out what the pages do. It comes down and punches her into the pages, and the minute her feet touch, it feels like she's hitting a fucking wood chipper. And it's just grinding her feet up, and then it pulls her back out.
It was like literally, you explained it well. Like if we fell in, it would be death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah.
I took a lot of damage, and so on my next turn, he let me do a dex roll.
Yeah, to swing over.
To swing up to the platform, and got a nat 20 on that one. I was fucking happy, and then I had to use my bonus action to. Anytime Aurora uses that briar spell, she has to physically rip them out of her.
Because a whole new bulb is growing.
Yeah. So that was fucking painful. I took
a lot of damage just from your own briars.
Yeah.
Oops.
But it was worth it.
That would never happen if I didn't say anything.
Yeah. Thanks.
Anyways.
And then the blue fairy on her next turn healed me some.
Yeah.
That way I could continue to fight off the hands and distract it. And then the gander showed up after a couple more hands.
So at this point we have 3 author hands, 2 fairies left because the wicked fairy got brought back.
Oh, something else happened. Oh, it was right after the gander. Never mind. Go ahead.
So we got 2 fairies that are still against them, 3 author hands, the stepmother, and now the gander shows up.
And
what did you do, Henry, on your first turn after the gander showed up?
I basically told him that he was not the only one trying to take control of everything. And
He had some competition.
Yeah. He didn't like that.
He persuaded the gander to attack the stepmother.
Which I fully did not see coming.
Now, before my next turn after that was the author avatar turn. And the hand that I was closest to, that I had done struck with briars twice, grabbed me and was slowly killing me.
Before that happened.
What?
I set the thing on fire and it landed on top of me.
Yeah.
He flicked a lit cigar into the stepmother.
He used the bonus action to persuade the gander. And then he used his double action, I think it was. His action surge.
Yeah.
No. He used a fighting maneuver called Trip. He used a bonus action to throw the lit cigar into her and then used his action to trip her. And that's why she fell on it.
Yeah.
That's why he was wanting
and
to
then
do
when
that.
the gander's turn came around, he went over and bit the shit out of her.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing had me and it was like slowly killing me. And all of a sudden, these fucking blonde braids of hair wrapped around 2 of its fingers and ripped it the fuck apart and said,
"Get the fuck off my sister."
And I dropped, and Doc Ocking behind me is fucking Rapunzel, and all the other princesses rush in, and I'm like, yes! I flipped the fuck out, because he had told me they weren't going to be fighting with us, and so I brought that, I was like, you told me they weren't gonna, he's like, they're not supposed to be, but you guys are getting fucked up, especially you.
And what was it Cinderella said when she got over to you? No, it was Rapunzel that said it. What'd she say? Do you remember?
Oh, I looked at her and I was smiling with my blood running down my mouth from the briars, and she's like, you didn't think we'd let you die, did we? Or did you?
Yeah.
And then all the fucking princesses swarmed in, and Cinderella put her fucking helmet on and went invisible. Fucking Beast started charging the fucking
spent
fairy.
every action up to the point where she took that helmet off moving. just to get over by you.
Yeah, because by the time the combat was over and she took that helmet off, she was right fucking next to me.
And that was, what, I think 2 rounds?
Yeah.
So she was dashing the whole way there.
Is that why you said you're not going to tell us where she is until she takes the helmet off?
I didn't think the combat would be over by then, though. I figured you'd learn it by seeing her attack.
Yeah. Well,
but it works.
After that, I attacked the other hand that had spawned in closer to Pinocchio, and by that point, the blue fairy had went over there to him to help him. But, you know, it took 3...
He was, like, soaking up this ink for 3 full rounds.
Scheherazade got hit with Disintegrate because the yellow fairy aimed for Puss and he did the
dodged out the way.
The evasion, and it hit Scheherazade instead, so she got fucked up.
Yeah, she was bloodied.
Tomas was right there on Puss's side. He wasn't letting shit happen to his familiar. Yeah, when Puss lost his sentience, he became Tomas's familiar.
And then when he gained it back, he retained that status.
Yep. I got smart with that last Briar attack, and when I shot, because the second time I learned, okay, immediately bonus action and remove that shit, right? And well,
the more motion is on it while it's there, the more internal damage she takes.
Yeah. And, you know,
there's thorns ripping at her organs.
And, you know, they can use it against me. Well, the third time I got really smart. And
like
after
when you got lasso punched?
Yeah. After I shot it out and I ripped it out, I held it that way that it couldn't fucking get away without a fight.
Yeah.
That way I could keep it in place because it was so close to Pinocchio. And right after that, he finished retaining the ink. And... He did this fucking dope ass shit where he sprouted fucking ink wings and his eyes went inky black and he flew up in the center and he started writing and all of a sudden the hands and the gander and the stepmother all fucking decayed and disappeared. So the only enemies that were left were the yellow and black fairies. And then the blue fairy looked at him.
I'm very proud of that line.
The blue fairy looked at him. You say, because I'm not going to do it justice.
I don't remember exactly what it was.
It was something along the lines of, if you don't want the same thing to happen to you, I suggest you fucking stop. And they just froze. And the black fairy's like, I'm sorry. And then that's when Cinderella took her helmet off and she was with me. And then Strive talked to Cinderella. Oh, he took me and Ariel's pain away.
Yep.
So that I wasn't cursed with the briars anymore and she wasn't cursed with the constant agonizing pain. And she started dancing.
It was the first time she was able to.
Yeah. And then, you know, he looked at Cinderella and he was like, at first he talked to Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know I'm breaking our deal, but I want to be a real boy again. I want to be a real person.
You remember what she said?
I don't. It was something along the lines of like, you know, I'm used to people below me being more clever.
In most of her stories, she is either stolen from or outsmarted by someone smaller and cleverer than her.
Hand me that dead word, please.
And she followed that statement up by saying, I can do nothing about what you write.
Right. So...
all she can do is make sure her shit's preserved.
Wasn't that when the book changed?
Yeah, he heard the goose in his mind saying, No, Baba Yaga told him a friend of mine would really like her book back, and that's when they swapped.
Yeah, essentially the book that he had was the goose's, and it got transferred back to a different variant of Mother Goose, and it was replaced with one for our tale for him to write.
And do you remember the name of it? It's something that 3 different NPCs have referred to.
Something about the adventures of the Children of Destiny or some shit like that.
Tales from the Children of Destiny.
Because they kept calling him the Boy of Destiny, and because we were with him, we were known as the Children of Destiny. And so he rewrote the stories like he promised he would. He made sure all of us and like the princesses and
You got your happily ever after.
and we got to remember what happened, except for Belle and Ariel specifically asked not to remember because Ariel said that it fucked with her mental state too much, and Belle did not want to remember why she became the Beast.
You want to tell them about that?
So it's pretty much, you know, it starts out the story that you know.
It's another one of those insinuation things.
Yeah. It starts out the story that you know where
And love. We all love Beauty and the Beast.
It's a tale as old as time. Yeah.
Be our guest.
So you know her father is taken prisoner by the Beast. She offers to stay in his place. The Beast falls in love with her. Only instead of falling in love with him back, she defeats and devours him. And it transfers his beast curse from him to her. And she doesn't want to remember that. And I don't blame her. It's fucking dark.
Yes.
Do you want to make some more of that?
No. There's enough for you to have a cup. Should be. But after we're done filming and y'all leave, I'm probably going to bed. I've been up since 6 a.m.
Right. So...
Well, I'm going to spend a little time with her first.
So, you know, Elodie reads his note, and he gets to be a human again, and they live happily ever after.
You want to talk about how he found out she read the note?
He can talk about it.
Talk about what happened during your wrap-up when you got back to Greenlee.
I seen in the mirror that I was a human. And then I looked out in the hallway and she was holding the note up.
Smiling. And what she said.
This is all I wanted.
And then what she did.
Give me a hug.
And you lived happily ever after?
Oh.
Because, I don't know if y'all remember in a previous episode, he had wrote a note finally confessing his feelings for her. And was too afraid to give it to her face to face. But she did read it.
When Strife or Pinocchio rewrote everything, he wrote himself as human.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote himself as an adult.
No. Some years had passed before that.
If you recall, he specifically said, I write myself of age.
Yeah, of age. He did say that.
Well,
he made himself at least 18.
That's not how I narrated it. So, tough. Sorry, Strife, but that's not what happened.
But, you know, he eventually he ends up marrying Rapunzel. Puss lives happily ever after with Tomas. And
1 second. Can we just point out the fact that the only reason he even said that is because he was trying to Anakin Skywalker Rapunzel. If you've seen the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, you know what I'm talking about. It's some To Catch a Predator shit. Anyway.
Perfect that you said that while wearing that shirt.
This? I get it.
Yeah.
There, in case y'all didn't see what she's talking about.
I gotta get some ICP on my phone.
Yeah, you do.
So after that, Puss got to live happily ever after with Tomas in the castle.
Marianne with Tomas.
The village was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alphonse was himself again, and his previous owner, Tomas's brother, was now his roommate.
Mm-hmm.
Minerva was no longer evil.
Yeah, what happened with that?
So Cinderella specifically asked for her mom to not die,
mm-hmm.
which meant her dad never remarried,
mm-hmm.
which meant Minerva never had to be the evil stepmother, and she actually became a decent person who loved her daughters. And one day she comes and finds Puss not remembering anything, and Puss is like,
yeah, that was the stepmother.
And Puss is like, I don't think I can help you. And she's like, but I heard you could do anything. And Puss is like, well, what do you need? She asked her to find...
I remember this word for word. She looks at Puss and goes, I can't get my daughters married for the fucking life of me.
I love them, but I need them out of my house.
Yes.
They're ugly. They're the ugly
They're
stepsisters.
so ugly. Have you seen Shrek? The ugly stepsister.
Snow White, the dwarves found me.
Because they remembered you.
And they said that their princess needed, someone, or needed me to come rescue her so a man didn't have to kiss her corpse or some shit like that.
She didn't have to be kissed by a man without her consent.
Right. So I went and I lifted the glass coffin and she woke up.
We're not woke, but we're also not fucked in the head.
Right.
Consent is key.
And she woke up and we remembered each other, so she embraced me. I finally found my prince, and we lived happily ever after. All the princesses remembered each other and stayed close. We all stayed friends, and we all got invitations to Rapunzel and Pinocchio's wedding.
Like I said, Anakin Skywalker.
And
you had a piss-free soup dinner with Baba Yaga.
And he offered to give Baba Yaga her youth back, and she turned him down because she was worried that she would lose her power.
Or at least some of it.
She would rather have her power than her youth. She didn't think they could go hand in hand. He brought the wolf back, and the wolf stopped by the wedding.
There's one more thing. We ended on a joke. We ended with another Baba Yaga line because she was my favorite NPC from this campaign.
She was the Arthur Eggford of this campaign.
So we ended at Rapunzel and Pinocchio's wedding with them kissing. You kiss the bride, and as soon as they got done and broke the kiss, they looked down and she's in the center of the aisle holding up a bowl. And she goes, "A little bit of piss." and then that's how we ended it.
Actually, we ended it with Nitro saying, "And they all lived happily never after."
So, on record, what do we think of this campaign?
I didn't get to do all of it, but I loved what I did get to do. Especially everything with the princesses, like...
Tell Brennan thank you.
Thank you, Brennan! Get in the fucking comments and tell Brennan Lee Mulligan thank you.
Y'all tell Brennan to check out our channel. We do a lot of his content.
We do, and we're fixing to do another D20.
Yeah, and we've done 2 of his one-shots so far.
How long?
Correction, we've done 1 of his and 1 of Abria's.
How long till our next D20, brother?
1 month.
Counting down.
Counting down, we'll be jumping back into Elmville for junior year.
Session 0. You excited, Doyen? Getting back to Tim Doyen.
Oh.
The new poster.
Preview here. Preview for the next campaign, y'all. Keep it.
Fire.
And until then, whoop, whoop.